Recording progress.
Okay, well, so that's one study. So last time I did Pasuk Yud, but I'm going to do over again because it really goes together with another psukim. Yehuda went to the Knani, so sat in Hebron, the Shem Hebron, Fanim, Kias Arba, Ve'akush, Sheshai, Achimam, Tamai. He went and he killed the remaining giants who left over. Shesh, Achim, and Tamai, their father had been killed already, died, and he came and killed the rest of them. Now, this story is brought down also in Sefer Yoshua, and Chazal have difficulty with that. Why it's brought down twice, and they say it's in order to darshan these psukim. So the Malbim says here, Zenis kar kibush Yoshua. In Shem of War, it says here, Shekov Arashis and Hakim, Kalev destroyed the giants. This is in the days of Yoshua. Here, it's included because it includes everything Yehuda conquered. They already went to Knani when Hebron, but Yeshua is alive. Even though there it's related to Kalev, and it's related to Asneo. And so they were, it seems like Asneo was Kalev's nephew. The Kalev was the head of the Shevet, but Shifta Achimo, and the Shevet went with him, and including Asneo, his nephew. So I'd say both of them. And Hebron itself is not part of this. Hebron Levim. Hebron itself was given to Levim. Well, the 48 cities belong to Levim, but the fields of the city and the yards of the city need no club were given to Kalev. So Kalev and Asneo, who was his nephew, maybe it was his stepson. You know, I think it was either both his nephew and stepson, or specifically his stepson. Anyway, they got together in order to wage war and take over the rest of them. So Vayelech Misham El Yoshvei Dvir. So from there they went to a place called Dvir. And Dvir was previously called Kiryat Sefer. So the Malbim here says, again, this story and the next story, which is about his Asneel's Kalev's daughter, Asneel. Oh yeah, it's going to say that he's his nephew, right? It was mentioned in Sefer Yeshua as well. It means to say again, he already went time Yeshua. And the story it took place then. Chazal are bothered by the fact the story appears twice. And here it mentions something which is you see totally irrelevant, that the Canaanites came out of this is later on in Pasuk Tes Zayin. It mentions that Moshe, the children of Cani, who was the father of Moshe and with Yisrael, Omer Tzmarim, it went up from the city of Dates, which is Yericho. Bnei Yehuda made by Yehuda to the people, the children of Yehuda, made by Yehuda, Shebenega Barad, which is south of Barad, Vayeshu Yelach, Vayeshu Bima Esam, and they draw together. This is totally irrelevant. The question is why this pasuk is brought down here, and what's the point of it? Anyway, so V'tashum b'tmura. So Tmura they dash in these psukim. So Shosa love Yalach Nishtrachu Mei Evo Shel Moshe. Well, in the days when they were mourning for Moshe Rabbeinu, the 30 days after his death, they forgot 3,000 halachos. Now I don't know how they knew they forgot 3,000, but they knew they forgot 3,000. They know what they were, but they knew they forgot 3,000. And there was a big problem because in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, you could actually have Moshe Rabbeinu remind you of them, and they'd still be Doraisa. Because Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Hey, Doraisa." By the time of Asneo, they're no longer the level of Doraisa, which comes from a verbal communication of a Navi. Verbal communication of a Navi after that, the Moshe Rabbeinu is only the Rabbanim. It's not the Raisa. So if they forgot 3,000 dollars the Raisa, how are they going to get them back? The only way they can get them is Midosh Ateni dresses for him. At the end of Korbanos, they say that Shloshim meters, Shemem Torah Nidreshes, named Rabbi Shmuel. There are others. Rabbi Kiva has a different system. But the point is, the only way to get back halachas d'oraisa after Moshe Rabbeinu dies is by using the midos, these ways of analyzing and deriving principles into our text, which are given to us as tools to use after Moshe Rabbeinu passes away. So it says, he brought them back with his pilpul. His pilpul in this case means, the word pilpul comes from the word pepper. And when you use pepper, you give taste to something. And you give taste to something, you can take something which was bland till now and give it a new taste. So to their psukim, which, so to speak, before the pilpul are bland. You don't know, you haven't applied the tools yet, which bring out the flavor in the pasuk. So pilpul, the midos shebahem Tony dreshes, they bring out the flavor of the pasuk. They teach us about the content of the pasuk much more beyond the surface. It's more than the bland, superficial taste. It brings out the more deep and profound taste. Okay? So the next pasuk it says, "Vayomer Kalev Asher Hakeh as Kira Sefer." And of course, one of the reasons called Kira Sefer is because we're talking about the city where they need to restore the Sefer. They lost 3,000 halachos in the Sefer Torah. They need to get it back. So and so Kalev says, whoever conquers Kira Sefer and captures it. I give him Achsa, my daughter, to wife. Because Asnil Meknaz is Chiko Lebakatom. So Asnil, the son of Knaz, who was Knaz was Kaleb's younger brother, so Asnil was his nephew, like I said before. And he gave Achsa's daughter to Asnil to be his wife. And when she came to when Achsa came to Asnil, she said, she persuaded him so they had to ask her father to give them a field, kind of like a wedding present. But in order to prevail on her father to give them this field, she flew off her donkey. Khan and Marty was a paratroop, so I guess she parachuted off her donkey, so to speak. By the Yomer Kalev said to her, Malach, what's going on? She said to her father, Havali bracha. Give me a blessing. You gave me a portion which is in the Negev desert. It's arid. It can't grow anything. The Sadhu goes, you need to give me a water supply. I need reservoirs. I need water. Kalev gave her the upper springs and the lower springs, or the upper wells, the lower wells. In other words, he gave her a source of water. So there's a Pashut shot in the Psukim, which Malbim says the Pashut shot is already in Yeshua. Why is it redoubled here? In order that we should darshan, or we should understand it on a deeper level. We should learn it like a medrash. And he says, you put me in the land of the Negev. You gave me Asniyah, who's a great guy. He's a wonderful Talmud Chacham. You gave me and my husband. But he only has Torah. It's not enough. I need more than Torah. Okay? And in the meantime, it says that Bnei Keni, that's the next person over here, the Bnei Keni Chotzim Moshe, Olamir Tzmarim of Yehuda in Bar Yehuda, Hashem Negar Rav, Yeshiv Esa'am. So the people, the Canaanites, were the descendants of Yisrael, went from the city of Dates, which was by Yehuda, Midbar Yehuda, in the Negev, near Arad. Arad means, the word arid. Arid means very dry. I think it's related to the word Arad. Arad today is a city in the Negev, which is very dry. So they came to Arad. I think they weren't in Yericho. They went to the Arab place in Arad. They led with Shev Yehuda over there. Arad. By the way, Arad today is a city which is full of Ger Hasidim. And one of the primary occupations of the Ger Hasidim Arad is they have institutes to study Talmud Yerushalmi. Like today, they know I'm big into Yerushalmi. And so my Chavrusa, which I learned Bavli with, but it was, my Chavrusa, he has a big support. He has money and he supports them. So today I got two big fat Yerushalmi volumes from them, which the Yerushalmi they're putting out slowly over time. That's not neither here nor there, except to tell us that a city like Iran, its connection to Torah goes back to the time of Yoshua and the Shoftim. Okay, so again, Achsa's complaining. You gave me this husband. All he has is Torah. He doesn't have any means of visible means of support. The Shebnei Keni, but you should know also the people of Keni also Dosha Shericho. They left Dosha Richo is called the shade, a fatty place. There's a lot of date trees in Richo. There's a lot of produce there. It's a rich place. Even though it's near the Dead Sea, a lot of stuff grows there. They left Dosha Richo. And they went, Yoshua given them temporarily, by the way. They were not given Dosha Richo permanently. The descendants of Yisro given that land as long as the base of Mikdash was not built. Once the base of Mikdash was built, so then the land reverted to Shevet Yehuda, but that's much later in history, hundreds of years later. So, but in the meantime, they left there. Part of them at least went to see Knaz Yimoton. Chachmu Itzkiladas. So the Chachamim were when they saw that this whole story is repeated, and they understood from this. Chachmu, they were smart, Itzkiladas, and they were intelligent to know. The reason why this whole story is repeated twice, both the Sefer Yeshua and the Sefer Shoftim, because this time around the sin was Elanyonim Mishubulishaliyim, to the matters of parables, which are embedded in the golden language of the parable. This is this city also is called the Yoshua. That's three names so far, right? It says there Dvir, it's Kiryat Sefer, and it's also Kiryat Sneh. So he says that why is it called Kiryat Sneh? It was Kiryat Sneh, and then it became Kiryat Sefer. So Shami Sasvu Talmidim, there Talmidim came, Legos to learn, the Lishanos and to Chazer, the Sefer Torah, Vayasham Yeshiva Gedoyla. There was a great yeshiva there. He came case Kiryat Sneh, Hashem Etzon Shochli Sneh. It says we are supposed to do the will of God who dwelt in the burning bush. So it's a very fundamental idea in how to learn Tanakh. So Tanakh can be learned, and it's supposed to be learned according to Pashut Pshat. Of course, no question about it. There's Pashut Pshat Tanakh, and its historical basis, and it's something which we learn as the history of our country, of our nation. But no less so, it's also a Sefer Kodesh. It's a holy book. And as a holy book, it has things that are written on multiple levels. The Sefer Kodesh means there are multiple levels in which to learn it. I'll tell you off on a tangent here. And I started giving a daily shir on YouTube and on Zohar Kodesh. I mentioned in school. And the Zohar itself, I've been finding, I've only given so far 7 shirim. It's very, I enjoy it very much, like 5 minutes a day. And Zohar is a medrash like any other medrash, which means that we learn, I like them, without all the intense and difficult secrets, which Arizal and others learned out of the Zohar, can be learned on a simple level, like a medrash, like medrash rabbah. So Tanakh is like that too. It can be learned on a simple level, more profound level. So here too, this he's saying that listen to the names which appear here. There's not coincidence. Kiryat Sneh refers to the sneh, the burning bush. Kiryat Sefer refers to the book of the Torah. This is a place where they learned the Torah in order to understand the Ratzon Hashem who appeared in the burning bush. And that was the idea of the different names, Kiryat Sneh and Kiryat Sefer. Shem Shemosh Kibel Torah Sinai. And also Sneh, with the burning bush, was at Sinai. I don't know if I must have realized this in the past, but it's emphasized here. Sneh, Sinai, you see the similarity? Har Sinai was the mouth of the Sneh. Moshe made him found the burning bush at Har Sinai. Connected, right? Sneh and Sinai. So the Rosh Hashiva. He was, I don't think he picks up on it, but Dvir also, he mentioned the term Dvir, possibly he mentioned the term Dvir, right? Said that Dvir, Shem Dvir, thing she was Kiryat Sefer, in Yoshua says it was also Kiryat Sneh, but Dvir is the language which is used to describe the Kodesh in the Beis HaMikdash. the play, the Kodesh was inside the Beis Hamikdash, and thank you, Daniel. So the Kodesh was inside the Beis Hamikdash. Devir also, language of davar, the word, right? So look what we have: Kiryas Sefer, Kiryas Neh, and davar, devir. So it's the word of God in the place of the book, in the place where, therefore, we learn the will of Hashem, who appeared in the burning bush at Har Sinai. So all the author of each Sefer of Tanakh, whether it was the Yoshua or the Zkanim or Shmuel or later on Yeshaya or whoever else it was, they were Navi, and they intended to embed multiple layers of meaning into Navi. And that's why they have all these different names. They're supposed to reveal things to us about the Navi. Now, it's important to know the Rambam about this. Rambam doesn't talk about this. He talks about Agadah. I'm going back and forth between Tanakh and Agadah because the same principles apply to Tanakh that apply to Agadah. Rambam asks the question, why did Chazal teach Agadah in a very strange way? They wrote it all as a mashal, even though they're trying to teach very deep principles. They wrote it all as a very strange mishal, very strange parables, about large creatures in the sea and about large birds, all sorts of other strange stories that we call in English tall tales. Why did they do it that way? Why did they just tell us the principles outright? So the Rambam says one thing, and the son, Reb Avraham Rambam, says a different thing, but they're two sides of the same coin. The Rambam says in order to hide the secrets from people who are not worthy of them. And Rabbi Avraham ben Rambam says, in order that people who cannot grasp the deep secrets will have at least a superficial understanding of them. Both things, they seem to be a paradox, but they're both true at the same time. Yes. Neil, do you want to ask a question? So a hand raised. Feel free. Anyway, so the idea is that Tanakh also is written in a way which is reveals and conceals. It reveals the simple shot, which then, if somebody tries to get beyond the simple shot, if he's worthy of it, in other words, uses his brain, because that's what it takes to be worthy, then he'll figure out very profound things, especially if he has Chazal to guide him. If he doesn't use his brain, at least he'll have a superficial understanding. That's true about, I say if Tanakh is true about Agadah, the Gemara, it's true about Midrashim. Everything which is written on multiple layers, and we call it being written Baruch HaKodesh, when there's multiple layers of understanding, some of them very deep and meaningful. So then there's some divine inspiration behind that writing. So that's what's going on here. Chazal telling us, we're using different names as plates, Kiryas Neh, Kiryas Sefer, Dvir, in order to understand something momentous is going on here. Here they brought back 3,000 halachas, which were forgotten days of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the first major yeshiva in Klal Yisrael's history. He smoked Kiryas Sefer. Was again some mush. Chachamim say use the language of meeting when two people or groups of people are meeting and arguing about something with their people trying to derive things from on a deeper level from Torah. K'moshe Amru, like they call Milchamta Shel Torah. A non-Jew or somebody that's not used to yeshivas, when they go into yeshiva the first time and they see yeshiva bachrim arguing with each other at the top of their voices and about to throw chairs at each other sometimes, they're astounded that this actually can be considered intellectual activity, because their idea of intellectual activity is a library, and the library is silence, and silence is promoted. And our idea of intellectual activity is loud noises, and sometimes shouting and screaming, and sometimes getting upset at the other guy in the course of an argument. So, because our understanding is that the Milchamta Shel Torah, the experience of fighting out Torah, is good for the intellectual pursuit of Torah, not bad for it. So that's just why it's called, as Neil said, he smoked Kiryas Sefer, he beat it up, he was engaged in Milchamta Shel Torah, engaged in the war of Torah, and was able to bring up new ideas. Barmet says, says when you want to make war with the ruler, your arrows should be sharp. v'chadoim, etc., or similar psukim, that they said these psukim are talking about the war of Torah. Make sure you have sharp arrows when you come to fight with another Talmid Chacham. Right? You should be sharp and determined and committed and come to wage war. And intellectually. And here's the guy who smites, who beats in the end, the guy who wins the war, so to speak, and halacha that's halacha. Much because of brachos, like it says in brachos, Avu Yorad because or even talk about Barbia. It's talking about David Melech, and not David Melech, one of his warriors. I forget which one. He went down and he smote the lion in the pit on a snowy day. So Chazal dash in that puzzle also. The tiny Safra the Beirab Yom and the Sis. We learned Safra the Beirab, which is evidently particularly difficult text, on a winter day. So again, Sukkim talk on multiple levels. Vastiyah hu natzach, and a steal was successful. Whether it's about on a simple level, in Mechemes HaKnani, they say for the war against the Canaanite people themselves. You can't say Shuto, which is the simple meaning. Then this conversation shows I meant to say before. If it's the Torah, the victory with Torah intellect, Torah, then it's Karpo. That's mentioned here. Okay, so again, things take place in multiple levels. V'yan Rosa Achsa. So Achsa saw two things, and again on two levels. Her portion of her husband came out of land the negative in two ways. It was dry, smell of mine. It had no water. Says sure that's the simple thing. It's a negative. Her husband turned to the negative. Her dream. So again, there's a muscle here. It says, if you want to get smart, when down from you turn a little bit towards the south. Because the south is where the menorah was. When I get rich, you turn a little bit towards the north, because the north is where the shulchan, the table with the bread is. So it doesn't work. It's not guaranteed. Right? You're down towards the south for your entire life, it still remain dumb. You're down towards the north, and your entire life, it still remain poor. But it helps a little bit, right? It's something. So the point is that from the fact that menorah was in the south, we always associate the sword with chacham, with getting smarter, more intelligent, acquiring wisdom. So if it says you gave me the Negev, which is in the south, at one level it means you put me in places which is dry. Another, Osneo, my husband, just gave me land which is dry. The other also means that you put him in a place where there is a pursuit of Torah. And by the way, we know, of course, that I think he might be this down a minute. I'll mention now that it says that somebody who wants to be successful in Torah has to be willing to forego material comforts. He has to be like living in a desert. He has to be willing to forego pleasures of this world. So therefore, Achsa says, then he's going to say the land was dry and thirsty for water. Her husband turned towards the land negative. Dream somebody wants to go smart, goes to the south. Zekoi showed this all of his aspiration. Koche, but it's all of his desire. And therefore, he's not going to have any income. Because his desire concern is to learn Torah. And so Amra said, she said, Nisanani, Tachas Nisatali. She says, not you gave me. Again, maybe in Sefer Yeshua it says Nisatali, you gave me a dry land. Here it says, you put me in a dry land. Not you gave me a dry land, you put me in a dry land. Why? Shanina says the Eretz Negev, I became the dry land. And because my husband's not going to bring an income. Therefore, on both levels, because it was an arid place, and also because her husband is going to be sitting and learning, she wanted a bracha and a soil for a panos. So he gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Aleph, for again, on a simple level, Ashkos, it's arts on the guva, to water her dry land. Bays, secondly, Ramaz Lagankin, he's also indicating, you should know that it's true, you need water. But you should know that the husband I gave you, Asnil. He's somebody who brings down the upper sequence and lower sequence. The from the higher sources and the lower sources, which are Chachma, Chachma Elokis Venachis, from divine and from human wisdom. He draws them both. Moshe Amr Chazal b'Medrash, like Chazal say, Misha Raza Yoin Tachtoim Nigolo, Yavakish Mera Davar. Somebody who the secrets are high and below are revealed to him. He's going to ask you something. So that it's interesting that Khalid says to Achsa, yes, I'm going to give you water on a simple level. But you know I gave you much more profound water on a high on the symbolic level, on the level of the drasha, which is Gulas Elios, the upper springs, and Gulas Tachtias, lower springs, Torah wisdom and regular wisdom. He's a very wise man, and that's why it's going to attract the yeshiva here. But Pisa Siper, and basically this he's telling, according to the parable and the analogy here, the metaphor, the Shabbat by which he spoke, when he settled and made his yeshiva and taught a lot of Torah, was able to teach a lot of Torah. And Chazal say that he asked for. Now, this is a Gemara Torah. The Gemara says that in Divrei Yamim, Asniel has a tefillah. He says to Hashem, "In varech tevarcheni v'beisa eskuli, v'yisrael chaymadi." I forget the rest of it, but so Chazal learned that that pasuk to tell us, and I say this sometimes during davening. It's a beautiful tefillah. In varech tevarcheni, if you bless me, says Neil, Chazal would say b'Torah. It has good with me, Chazal say shalot tishachach talmudim libi, and won't forget my learning. Your basis vuli, you expand by boundary. Chazal say b'talmidim, we're going to be a lot of students, and so on and so forth. The tefillah goes on. So the tefillah also says the Malbim was on two levels. The tefillah was on one level. Listen, God, it's you gave me Arad, you gave me an arid land here. Tell me how it should be if it should grow. On another level, he's saying to Hashem, listen, Hashem, you gave me this drive to teach Torah. Make sure I learn properly, I don't forget things, I can teach my Talmud. So this is a very exciting thing. This new concept of yeshiva. There was no yeshiva till now, right? In the desert, either they're all sort of speaking yeshiva. As though there's not this specific place that people came to learn Torah. Chazal, according to Josh Chazal, the Canaanites came to him. Midbar Yehuda Krov Hashem, it's a Midbar Yehuda, which is right next to Kosnil. And and he said with them in this yeshiva, which they pursued Chacham. Okay, we're almost out of time. It's probably going to go blank in the middle of the next pasuk. I'm going to talk about it. Try reading the Malbim, the next pasuk, and we don't finish it. And so next week we'll be able to learn, but maybe the week after. Tezayin, Vnei Katie, Hayoshua Olim, they would sit in tents. Nosi Mokom Mokom, they went from place to place. The sense of years, so they didn't have their own chelik and so they went to go from place to place. We also remember we saw, but they were at peace with the Jews, and they were Jewish. They were just gave them. And when Yehuda was fighting the Kanani, all of the tomorrow, they left the city of the dates. Jericho, place of war. Yehuda, and they dwelt in the middle of Yehuda. They lived with the people in a covenant of peace and tranquility. And much later, history repeats itself. 100 years later, when Shaul has to conquer the Amalekites, and there are Canaan living there. So Shaul remembers the Canaanites are always the allies of the Jewish people. So even the Canaanites are living with Amalek, which probably not the best ones of them. But Shaul the Canaanites say to the Canaanites, you should go leave the Amalekites because I thought here too as well. Here when you had to conquer Tomorrow, so the Canaanites went to learn yeshiva in Arad. Later on in history, when Shaul has to conquer Amalek, so the Canaanites go live elsewhere, and I hope they also evidently had some relationship with Am Yisrael continuously to learn Torah with him. Okay, that brings us actually to the end of Pasuk Design, where they come and they live together as the Canaanites with Yehuda, and live together. And then next move, Pasuk Design, next time I'm able to learn, we'll start from there. Thank you guys. Have a good night. See you, Mr. Shem, tomorrow.